You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 31 of the Battered MLS Fans Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, and alongside me, I got three other Battered fans. So let me start from my left to your right, Mr. Henry Higuita. How are you doing, sir?
All good, Danny. How we doing?
I'm living the dream. So we got Henry from Atlanta. Then we have John from horrible Orlando. What's going on, John? How you doing, sir?
Horrible. Yeah, right now the weather is horrible, man. I agree with that. We're not used to this. I'm not complaining too much. The snow has not reached us, but we are dangerously close, and I am afraid.
Yeah. I consider taking a day off. I'm in Miami. I consider taking a day off with the wife and kids to drive up to northern Florida because my kids are dying to see snow. I wish it would have been on the weekend instead of the weekday. And Danny, I know you're looking at us like we're crazy. You probably just deal with the snow all the time, so you know.
It snowed in Charlotte just barely. The whole town shut down. I heard Atlanta shut down. I heard everywhere was shutting down. We're not even a minute into the podcast, Daniel. You admit you're a bad father. You won't take your kids to see the snow in northern Florida. So it can only go up from here, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, they weren't happy, but you got to go to school. You got to go to school. It's a weekday.
All right. Give the kids a snow day.
We should. I had them when I was a kid up north.
Don't go to school next week, but not snow days. You got to take them to get the snow, man.
But the snow is done. That's it. It's over, right? It's not happening anymore.
As far as I know, yeah. Hopefully, because it got pretty bad over here. Like there was ice everywhere, man. It was terrible.
Sounds awful.
I don't know. Seeing pictures of Destin, Florida, with just palm trees and snow all over the place, palm trees covered in snow. It was a pretty cool image. But yeah, people down here just can't deal with it. So anyway, we're talking Eastern Conference today. General Eastern Conference talk, but we're going to talk about our respective teams. I figured I'd talk a little bit about the top dog last season, Inter Miami, before we move on to the rest. Inter Miami won. They won the Supporters Shield. I know, top team in the East, although they bowed out in the first round to Atlanta. My question, before I talk about what I think about Miami coming up, is, and I'll start with Higuita, since your team is the one that eliminated them. Do you think Inter Miami still looked at as the favorites? Or do you think there's another team that might have done enough where you're like, you know what, Miami might not have it this year?
And that's an interesting question right now because it's hard to look at a team that has Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez and not say that they're the favorites. Obviously Messi coming off an MVP year, Suarez coming off a Golden Boot chase. He was close. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's hard to look at that and say that they're not going to be the favorites. At the very least, I still think they're contenders. Of course, they just went this offseason and bought like every player they could from Argentina, and we have to see how they do, So it's going to be interesting to see how they integrate that. But yeah, I'll say that Miami is definitely a top contender in the East. But Javier Mascherano, what's he doing, man? What does Miami under Mascherano look like? Is my question. Because this is Mascherano's first time managing an actual club. Because before it was like youth national teams of Argentina and stuff. So I'm interested to see how that works. But yeah, I think.
I mean,
they're top contenders in the East.
When he was coaching the youth team for Argentina, I think a lot of people have, I don't want to say shrugged it off, even though they were favorites for a lot of those tournaments, as he got those players for a week or two at a time while he prepared for those tournaments, where now he has a full training camp and he could really implement whatever tactics and things he wants to do. And I mean, I don't know what to expect. Honestly, that's the biggest question mark as far as Inter Miami goes, is what Mascherano is going to do. I mean, they won the Supporters Shield last year. I mean, all he could do really is win trophies or it's a failure. John, right up north of Miami, how you feeling about Inter Miami? You think that they're still top dog?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like business as usual for you guys, right? You trade a bunch of guys out, find a bunch more guys from South America you want to bring in. I mean, We're pretty used to that here in Orlando too. So I feel like you make some good moves. You kind of sorted out some of your problems you had, like goalkeeper potentially is going to be better. I know some of the mixed opinions on Drake Callender, but like Fafi Pico, I thought was another interesting pickup for you guys. You just kind of filled out the roster better. And I think that's only going to make you guys a better team. So, you kind of fixed a lot of your problems, I think, from last year. So as long as things go right and Mascherano isn't a complete idiot, then you guys should be okay.
I agree with that take, because when you look at last year's roster compared to this one, with all the young players that they brought from South America to fill in the roster, the depth, I think, is the difference between last year and this year. They have a lot more depth. I'm not sure what the designations are as far as U22 and stuff, but they're making it work somehow. Danny.
How can you say they improved their depth when they lost twice as many players as they brought in?
Because the players that they lost, they didn't want. Farias didn't play last year.
Sunderland, Valencia. I'm looking at this list. I mean, maybe these guys, Campania, one of the bigger names, like maybe these guys were nobodies, but I don't know. I can't, in good conscience, allow people to call Miami the favorites. What are you guys all talking about? This team is absolutely choked. When it really came down to it, they were built to just run up the score in the regular season in many games that didn't really matter. I mean, congrats to them for scoring the most points ever. They'll always live down in history as having that record. And I hope that you guys make a flag for that and fly at whatever stadium you're playing at. In the next few years. I don't know. How's the stadium project going? I don't know. I'm a Miami hater. That's why you bring me on the show, Daniel.
Absolutely.
I will always hate on Inter Miami. I always
love it.
I got no love.
Are you coming down?
I think this year might be the year that I have to go.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
I love that you ripped on Daddy and then he pulled out the giant goat mug, like literally to be like, yo, but we got the goat. Like, look, that thing was huge. That's like the size of your head, man.
I don't know. I mean, the goat is 1 year older. He's just as injury prone as he has been. Suarez is more injury prone. Like, I feel like you're lucky all the games you got out of Suarez last year. I thought he played way more than I would have had him for an over-under at the start of the year. Add on to that, like Iguita was saying, like Mascherano, what's he really bringing to the table? This guy, it's like Messi was like, oh, we somehow you didn't have enough Barcelona in your squad that you had to go and get freaking the manager from their little fun club that used to run circles around the Spanish league 20 years ago or however many years ago. So I don't know. I just think like all Miami really did was get older and lose Leo Campana, who's probably one of the best players they had on the team last year. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, Campana, some Inter Miami fans are upset about it, but when he did have the chance to shine last summer, because Messi and Suarez were out for Copa America, everybody thought this is his chance to shine, and he choked. So I think that's when everybody in Inter Miami kind of like, it's okay if he heads out because he had his chance. Mascherano, unfortunately, it was either him or Xavi, because Messi's at a point in his career where he wants comfort, right? He came to MLS because he wants comfort. He doesn't want to play for a brand new coach who's going to be a hard ass. So he wanted one of his friends. So we knew it was going to be either Xavi or Mascherano. What he brings, I don't know. Whatever he does, he just has to win a trophy, and all of a sudden it's a improvement from last year. And
if they're not in first place by midseason, do they bring in Xavi as an assistant under Mascherano? Keep going. Just bring another one.
Xavi doesn't want to come to the MLS. Yeah. Xavi, I think, was choice number one. He doesn't want to come.
Yeah. Can we have Iniesta run around in the mascot costume or something like that? I mean,
how many former Barcelona players does it take to win MLS Cup?
Right, exactly. That's the experiment that you guys are running.
Look, I think that's the goal, is to win trophies this year. I don't think that they're going to care too much about the Supporter Shield and Champions Cup. They got the most favorable probably road of any team, starting against Sporting KC. And then next round, if they beat Sporting KC, they're playing against the best team in Jamaica. So I feel like, they got a decent draw in the Champions Cup. They're going to play in the Club World Cup. Like, I don't think they're prioritizing the regular season this year. They saw what happens. You prioritize it, you can get eliminated by the 9th place team. So I don't think that they're going to prioritize that. I think they're just going to go in for trophies, and they have the depth this year. A lot of the players that you mentioned, Danny, that they lost, Farias was out all last year. Christoph, everybody disliked because he's slow as molasses. Campana choked. So I think that they did a good job. They upgraded at the center back position. They upgraded at the midfield position. Or I'm sorry, they didn't upgrade. They replaced Diego Gomez with what we hope is going to be a good replacement, Velasco Segovia. Like they are or should be good. And I think that they should be the favorites also.
Is Busquets going to play center back or defensive mid?
Defensive mid and a double pivot. It's going to be him and a double pivot. And then they signed this kid, Maxi Falcon. I shouldn't say kid, he's like 27. But he's a Uruguayan that puts his body on the line when he's playing defense. So you love that, to play next to Toto Aviles. So look, things are looking. The only question mark is goalkeeper right now, because a lot of people are down on Drake Callender. I'm a Drake Callender fan. I think that people are being a little too harsh on him. I understand that people say he's not good with his feet, but he can block shots. So you can't have it all in the MLS. I'm okay with Drake, but we'll see where that goes. Some people are wondering if he's going to be on the trading block soon because he wasn't in training today. John,
Johnny, can I ask you a question?
For sure.
Do you think it's good that Messi just wants a guy like a yes man? Is that good for Inter Miami that he has Javier just being like, yeah, whatever you want, bro? Like, is that going to get the best out of Messi?
I don't think that you could get anything out of Messi. Like at this point, like let's be real. If you get, who did LeBron hire as the head coach for the LA Lakers this year? Because LeBron made that hire. JJ Redick. Like you get to a point in your career where you're like, you know what? I don't need this hard ass trying to prove a point and making me like an example. Like I have to follow what he's saying. I get it. I understand what you're saying also, right? Because you do want the coach to have some authority, but there's certain players in certain sports that kind of just get that. And you know, Tom Brady probably got it in Tampa. You know, like I'm okay with it. I knew that was going to happen, and I'm not necessarily hating it.
Messi's tactics or Javier's tactics? That's like the other question. Like who's the one really making these decisions? That's what I want to know.
That's a great question. And as of right now, I think it's Mascherano. I think it's Mascherano, but definitely you have to give Messi's input. But I do think it's Mascherano. I think they are going to go with a 4-4-2, which is a little more defensive with the double pivot. But we'll see, because I don't know if you could count on just Suarez and Messi being up top when, I mean, they lack a little bit of pace compared to some of the other people. But I don't know. We'll see. We're still early in the preseason, kind of curious to see what these things are going to be. But absolutely, I'm expecting them to be favorites in the Eastern Conference. So let's move on down or up to Atlanta. A lot of money to be spent. They were apparently spending it on Latte Laf from the championship over there in England.
Yep. Middlesbrough.
Is that still happening?
Yes, but there are no updates for that transfer saga right now. We know from a couple weeks ago, Tom Bogert reported that Atlanta had honed in on two targets for their number 9, one of them being Edson Edouard of Leicester, loaned from Crystal Palace, and then the other one being Emmanuel Latelath, as you just mentioned. Well, today we have reports that Edouard turned down the opportunity to sign for Atlanta, and it's not like Atlanta fans really wanted him either, because first of all, I mean, his numbers aren't that great, but second, there was a whole issue about him shooting someone in the face with a BB gun, which, you know, you don't want to bring that baggage in. Fans don't like that for obvious reasons. But yeah, as far as I know, Latte Lath is still, you know, there's a verbal agreement. They're trying to figure out personal terms. There was an interview today with Garth Lagerwey where he basically said, like, some of this stuff is like over the next 10 days, it's going to be key, because basically what happens in the next 10 days, February 3rd is when the European window closes, or that's the final day of the European window. And most clubs are going to want to hold out for that, because they're going to want to see, okay, are there going to be any other last minute offers that top this, you know, $20 million bid that Atlanta has made? If not, then, you know, sure, send them off. Also the fact that Middlesbrough is in the middle of a promotion battle, and Latelath is important for them. He's their top scorer, and so they want to use him as much as they possibly can. And so Atlanta kind of has to bite the bullet there and wait for them to be ready there, and then that transfer can happen. And as far as the other one, which I'm sure you're gonna ask about, is Almiron. I understand that is more advanced than Latelath, but it's probably just like with Latelath, it's probably gonna happen over the next 10 days, like Garth said. So we're going to wait and see, but either one of them, I think, are fantastic additions for Atlanta.
I love Almiron going back to Atlanta. I thought it was crazy that he might go to Charlotte. But before we get to Almiron, the Latilaf, how are you feeling about that though? Because I understand that it's not coming out of your pocket, but still, that price tag is gonna be on his head, right? If he doesn't perform, people are gonna be like, "You paid 20 mil for this guy." Do you really think this guy is worth the 20 mil? And I get it. You don't care what the owner spends, but that whether we like it or not, it's gonna be attached to him.
Yeah, of course. Like when you have a player coming in for a league record fee, the expectation is always going to be, okay, this guy's got to come in and just smash it. He's got to be a Golden Boot candidate. He's got to be an MVP candidate. Like the expectations are going to be piled on this guy. But looking at his numbers, looking at how he's performed in recent seasons, I like the type of player that he is. I like that he's exactly what Garth Lagerwey said they're looking for in a number 9, a very fast guy who can run at back lines and get through balls in behind. That's what he highlighted as Alexei Moranchuk's strength, is playing through balls. Well, this guy's going to be able to take full advantage of every single one of those through balls. And so I think by looking at his numbers in the championship, which is a comparable league to MLS, if we're being serious, I think that he could very well, he could succeed here in MLS. And I think 20 million, if that's what it takes to get
the guy you want.
Look, and here's the other thing, right? A 20 million or whatever crazy number you want to say, that for the previous front office, the one that Atlanta used to have, that meant a lot less because it seemed like they were throwing money at whoever, right? They threw like, I want to say 14, 15 million at Araujo. He didn't really do anything. They threw like 15, 16 million to Pity Martinez. He kind of wasn't what they expected. It didn't really mean much. But when you have two of the smartest executives in MLS, in Garth Lagerwey and Chris Henderson, willing to spend that much money, like you know that they see something in this guy, that he has a potential to not just be a good player in MLS, to be one of the best in MLS this season. So I'm really looking forward to that transfer being done and for him to play for Atlanta United.
There's something that I've said on the show a couple of times, is that I felt like in Seattle, Garth and Chris Henderson, they didn't spend a lot of money. They're not a big spending team. And then Chris Henderson came to Miami when they had sanctions, so he didn't have a lot of money to spend here either. So now that they have the freedom to spend, I'm kind of curious to see what they do with it, because it looks like they might be overpaying just because they have the money to do it. I don't know. So I'm kind of curious what they do with now that they have money to work with.
I'll say this much. One of the when Chris Henderson was announced for Atlanta United, shortly after, they made the trade with DC for Mateus Clich, and it was one of the best acts of highway robbery that this club has ever seen, because you got essentially a DP player for $30,000 salary, which is crazy. You don't get that quality. He's a great midfielder, an excellent chance creator, and it is a great presence in it. He'll be a great presence in Atlanta's midfield. He was excellent for DC the past couple of seasons. So like just seeing him pull that move off, you're not going to he's not going to overpay for players. I definitely don't think that just because you have Arthur Blank's checkbook and he's willing to write off, any check needed, I definitely don't think that they're going to abuse that necessarily and just say, oh, well, we can throw money willy-nilly. Like, no, they're going to know that, okay, yeah, 20 million for this player, that makes sense, because when we're bringing him in, he's going to make an impact. That's at least my thinking of how they're going about things, knowing the type of people that they are.
Danny, you have no love lost for Atlanta. How are you feeling about Latilaf?
This is just all pure cope coming from Henry. I mean, love the love this measured, fair, like delivery of all these logical reasons why all this is all good. But the commenters are making the case. You can see what some of these commenters are saying here. 20 million for a mid player. Nobody ever heard of Latte Loth outside of England until now. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe Loth could be the guy that does run in behind those Moranchuk balls. I agree that the Clich signing is pretty good, especially for like the value they got there. Like you think about, they were playing Dax McCarty at key points last year, and for that to be Cleach this time around, I think it'd be a lot better situation for them for sure. We host Atlanta in the Charlotte FC home opener on March 1st. Can't wait, on a Saturday afternoon game, Island game on Apple TV Plus. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how true this whole stuff is, with Atlanta sort of retooling, rebuilding, staying where they're at. Guzan's back for yet another year somehow. I do think it's kind of funny. I think we rope-a-doped him on Almiron. I don't think we were ever going to pay the price that Newcastle wanted for Almiron. And we had those discovery rights, so we put the play there. But I really like, I like Charlotte's business a lot more than Atlanta's business, other than that Cleach signing, which was pretty close.
Well, and I can't wait to talk about Charlotte because I'm also into what Charlotte's doing. But John, they got Marinchuk, they got Almiron, they got Latelaf, which how are you feeling about Atlanta? Because I know you also, although Joseph isn't there anymore, don't have any love lost for Atlanta.
Yeah, man, this is like the podcast of all the hated teams in Southeast, right? We're just here slugging it out.
And I love the fact that we left out Nashville, because none of us actually.
Yeah, like
they're not even in the conversation. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think Henry has some good points, man. I mean, I think Latila could be really good in this league for sure. I think 20 million could also be overpaying, but like Atlanta, they got this 20 million for 3 players each budget or whatever. So if they feel, and I agree with him, that got great GM there and great head coach. So if they feel like this is the right plan and this is the guy, then they might well be right. And this guy might come in and look like Benteke in this league and put up big numbers, or it might go wrong and then it's, horrible. But I think that he definitely has some attributes that will be good in MLS. I watch a lot of Championship. I'm a massive Stoke fan my whole life. So I've seen this guy play for Middlesbrough. He's a big unit and he's fast. So, I think that usually does well in this league. And let's see what he can do. And then, bring it back Miguel, Miggy. That's going to have some flashbacks. If he scores against us again, I'm going to have flashbacks of 2018 or whatever it was, because it'll be great to see him back in the league and nice to see him with Atlanta, to be fair. So nice pickups by you guys there, and good that you're spending money. Good for you.
It's going to be weird. I was just going to say, it's going to be weird to have Miguel Almiron in Atlanta and not have Joseph Martinez.
Right.
Well, I was going to, are you guys, because I know you said that the Almiron thing is further along. The Latelaf you're expecting to happen. Are there any other moves that are coming down the pipe for Atlanta that you heard possibly?
As far as I know, not really. If anything, they'd probably be looking to strengthen that left back, because they literally only have Pedro Amador there. Luis Abram can play left back. That's not his primary position, but he's played left back before. And then Ronald Hernandez can obviously play either of the fullback positions. But for the start of the season, you're going to need him at right back because Brooks Lennon is injured. So, it's going to be – I don't know what other signings they have planned, if any, for this window. They have 2 U22 slots open, and, Garth has said that the way that they see those is that's not going to be a real focus of this window, and they haven't used them yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if they leave those for the summer. But yeah, I haven't heard of any other moves that they have planned.
Well, as far as Miami goes, Atlanta seems to be their kryptonite. So seeing them improve, it's definitely not something you want to see. But moving on to Charlotte. Charlotte, best defense in the East, arguably the best defense in the league, best keeper in the league last year. They played that boring style, Dean Smith, that you called them out for being boring.
I did. I told Dean that.
I know. Yeah, you called him out. He took offense to it, and now you got Zaha, which I don't know how much he still has left in the tank, but you got him. I love the signing, and then you got Agi, and Swiderski's gone. How are you feeling about the offseason so far for Charlotte?
It might be Charlotte's best ever offseason in terms of just the way the business has been conducted. I think probably the offseason where we brought in Ashley Westwood would count as our true actual best offseason, because that really changed the character of the club. He's been the captain ever since he came over. But even that was left late in the window and was sort of a thing that took some time to get going. Whereas this, finally, the Charlotte fans are really excited about the fact that signings are happening without
You
being
guys have
last
been
minute
ambitious,
things right at the end of the window. Like that's the thing though, is like we have a reputation of like leaving it late and like waiting until getting caught with these teams that want to wait till the very end, like we were talking about earlier. And like we've been the team that suffered because of that. But this was a case where Zoran Cornetta, the GM, just went and did the business and got it done here in time so that our new big signing, Zaha, is there for training camp. Because I think that's important. You don't want guys like joining halfway through training camp. As far as Swiderski go, bringing in Pep Biel also is a name you didn't mention, but I think like him having a full season and being in a training camp is going to be a real big deal for Charlotte's offensive attack. He showed some really good signs last year, late in the season and in the playoffs, combined on a lot of goals with Ajimong, who's the striker, who's now locked in as the starter, unless we do bring in a DP number 9. We'll see. But Carroll was sort of let go because because if Karol Swiderski hadn't been like sold to Panathinaikos, which just became official this morning, if he had not been sold, he would have been on the bench. He would have been one of those like DPs on the bench, like we rarely see in this league. But I think like Franco Yara was a DP on the bench for Dallas a long time because he's an old guy. And like, but the plan was that for Ajimong to start ahead of Swiderski. And or John, you saw that like in the Orlando game when it was do or die in game 3 of that first round playoff matchup. And we had to like win or go home, like elimination game, essentially. Ajimong started over Swiderski and did, scored a goal that was wrongly ruled offside in that match. But Ajimong is the guy and Swiderski's gone. There's a DP slot open. The other thing is when you mentioned DPs, Leal Abada is like 23 years old, the guy that came over from Celtic. He's had some high goal scoring seasons, contributed like 30 goals, I think, for Celtic across 2 seasons. He was up and down last year, adjusting to the country, coming in mid-season, as well as getting married and just like learning what it's like to live in America. He's a young guy that had a year of adjustment and still contributed, but now he's like got way more of his feet under him. So he's a guy who's like settled, ready to start to dominate, I think, at this club and pay off on his DP status. So you've got Zaha on one wing, theoretically, and Abada on the other, and Pep Biel running in behind them, playmaking, Ajimong up top. Westwood. And then probably if he's healthy, it's interesting. Like we've had Brant Bronico, and then we brought in Eric Williamson. We've also had a guy named Jibril Diani from France. So Bronico and Diani kind of fought for that second spot next to Westwood all season last year, with Bronico pretty much emerging as victorious in that battle. Now we bring in Eric Williamson, a guy who's like had U.S. men's national looks before he got like really hurt, and he's injured ACLs in both his knees. Like in 2021 and in 2024, he tore either ACL. So he's like, is he ready to rock and ready to really go and give a full season? Because if so, I still would think the Cleach signing is a better like midfield signing that Atlanta made. But Williamson's a pretty nice pickup from Portland. It's something that another thing fans have like pressed our front office to do is like get MLS veterans, like go get guys from within MLS that like know the league. Like we've been kind of slow to do that. It's not that we haven't ever done it, but we just don't.
Go get Kai Kamara.
Necessity. Yeah, exactly. Hey,
Charlotte's one of the few teams he hasn't played for.
I would be honored. Oh my gosh, I would love Kai Kamara in Charlotte. That would be absolutely tremendous. I'd be all for that. But he, as you know, come subbing in for Ajimong. But all that is to say, the offense is way improved. Williamson is very two-way, way more so than Diani, and Bronico's two-way, but these are guys that are defensive midfielders that can create offense. So,
I mean, that was your biggest weakness last year.
Exactly. Scoring goals. Yeah, the defense is all the same. The defense is intact from what it was last year, so I would expect probably a little bit of regression just naturally because they were all having such outlier good years last year, and they really dominated, and Kalina won goalkeeper of the year, like you said. But I think Charlotte's poised. We have a lot of chip on our shoulder from losing the playoff series to Orlando. We felt like we were done dirty, both on the Ajimong offside and on what's his name, that little punk ass.
But I mean,
Duncan McGuire diving in the box to earn a penalty like that. I will never.
But
let's
like be real.
Guy. So
I mean, it was by far your weakness because in 3 games you scored 1 goal.
Hey, And we were right
Like-
there. We were about to advance and host the next round thanks to you guys. So yeah,
because of the defense. Yeah, because of the
I mean,
defense.
what
So
can I say?
I said it before the playoffs started last year that the only team I feared in the Eastern Conference was Charlotte. Obviously, I should have said Atlanta, but I didn't know that Guzan was going to get
Kryptonite,
souped
yeah,
up
exactly.
on what is that thing that they
Yeah,
take
bro.
in the boys that
Know who
that's
your
something
daddy
V.
is.
The V, yeah. Brad Guzan is on the V 100%.
Absolutely. So I wasn't aware that that's the Brad Guzan we're going to see, but Charlotte was the team that I worried about because of that defense. But John, Orlando took him out. How do you feel about Charlotte now that they actually have an offense, or we think that might have a better offense?
I love that he's not over this at all. It's great.
Not even close.
You're not even close to over it. All I gotta say is welcome to MLS, bro. Because all of us have a story like that where you get screwed over. So whether it was right or wrong, it's just what happens in this league, man. On Charlotte, I just think, I think it was smart what you did with Pep Biel, like bringing him back on a loan. It's like you're not committing the whole way, but like he could be a good player. Wilfred Zaha is a big signing, man. Like if he can still do bits, like he's really dangerous on the 1v1. He can cross from shoot from anywhere. So he's going to be a real talisman if you can get him going. And Eric Williamson has been a good player in his time if you can keep out injury. So I think good signings for you guys. Your defense is definitely your strongest suit, and you're totally right. You called out Dean for playing horrible long Brexit ball that's super boring to watch. So yeah, I think you guys are geared up for another year of that, I imagine.
It had to be done. I just want to throw out that Ajimong, not only is he ready to take MLS by storm, he's taken the U.S. men's national by storm, scored in both of the friendlies that the USA just recently played this past week. So
I was
think
there.
I think that's a name
the
that
A-team?
many people will know by the end of the season.
I went
You think he
down
makes his
to
way?
Inter Miami to see him, and I just watched him in Orlando, and yeah, he's a real player, man. So I think you guys are going to keep him as your main number 9. I would.
You think he makes it to the A team?
By 26?
Yeah.
I mean,
How old is he?
The spot's open. I think he's 24.
Oh, he's still young.
He's in his prime.
Yeah.
If he has a big couple years in MLS, then I think he has as good a chance as anybody. It's just about who's fit. Who's going to be fit and who's going to be firing around 2026.
Pochettino might be different, but usually they shy away from getting MLS guys.
No, Poch has said he's fine with MLS guys.
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe with him it'll be different, but in the past they've always shied away from it.
I mean, the Ajimong goal against Costa Rica was pretty insane. Like he ran onto a ball and like one timed it with his left. It was pretty freaking nice.
Do you guys see Poch was in the bathroom during the second goal?
Yes.
I was sitting here and he came running out. And he was like, "Oh, I had to go to the bathroom." It was hilarious.
No way.
For real, no jokes.
Look it up, man.
He ran off into the bathroom, and then we scored. Like Caden Clark scored that goal. And he came back out, had to wave to the crowd. It was
check
fun.
that out. Henry, I guess we'll end it with you. Charlotte, what do you think? I mean, I'd rather get Zaha than Latelaf, and it probably cost him a lot less.
I disagree, but we'll see, man. Look, the Zaha signing is huge, obviously, and not just for Charlotte, but the league, because he's a big name, man. And I think he's definitely going to bring a lot to Charlotte. I know the concern is his age. I mean, he's 32, and there's a 32-year-old Egyptian tearing up the Premier League right now. So I still think, man, look, he had a good season, a decent season in Turkey. He's got experience in the Premier League. Like the guy can definitely bring some stuff to Charlotte.
And it's low risk, high reward because it's a loan. It's a 1-year loan, no?
Yeah,
that's
with 6-month extension.
So if he doesn't work out, then you could just free up that spot and no issue, which is a smart move by Charlotte. That's very smart.
Absolutely.
And you still have a DP slot open. Like that's interesting to me. Like obviously, I mean, Ajimang is your striker. You don't need a striker. I would say for Charlotte, the biggest need would probably be a top number 10, like an elite chance creator at the number 10 spot. That'd probably be where I would spend the DP slot. Right. You do that.
Upgrade BL,
do that. I think you're set, man. Like that's going to be Charlotte's going to be one to watch this season. I would prefer Almiron to Zaha. That's probably my sentimental Atlanta.
Almiron, yeah, okay.
Person speaking.
I'm talking about Latelaf, though.
It's hard to
It's different positions. So
it's different positions. So for me, it's hard to kind of
Yeah.
compare the two. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But we'll see what happens.
Right.
It's going to be an interesting matchup.
Much like Danny with
I think
Orlando,
I think Almiron feels his age more than Zaha does, based on their style of play. That's why I like Almiron needs the quick first step. He needs to be able to outrun people. I've watched every Atlanta United game on their run to the title, and I know that it was all about he was down the field. He could beat offside so easily because he could just literally outrun anyone. And he was always down there like by himself, just like waiting for Joseph to catch up so he could slide over for a tap. And that's how they scored all those goals. So
that is his main
I just don't know if he's just that fast anymore, but we'll see. Maybe he is.
That's fair.
But
I mean, we don't know that, but
so
like
many
you
years
said, we have
playing
to
in
wait.
England, I'm sure technically, I'm sure he's might have improved a little bit also IQ wise.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's helped also playing against better competition.
They're
Fair
both
point.
kind of injury prone as well. So I think you guys got to watch out for that. Both Zaha, I remember, spent a lot of time injured when he was at Crystal Palace, and same with Miggy. So you got to hope they both stay fit.
And let's move on to your squad, John. Orlando. I thought that the biggest loss of the Eastern Conference offseason that nobody seems to be talking about is Facundo. I don't know why nobody's talking about it. I thought that was a huge loss, especially to your attack. He went down to Palmeiras, and I know you guys signed this Colombian kid, Nicholas Ramirez. Is it
Rodriguez?
Is he supposed to be the Facundo replacement? Because I think that's you're gonna suffer because of that loss. And like I said, I consume a lot of MLS content. I haven't heard too many people talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big loss for the team. You know, he was our biggest goal scorer for about the last 3 years. He's a big part of the team. So we lost him to Palmeiras, but I mean, it was the most money we've ever made on a transfer. So that's big for us, and everybody's expecting something big this transfer window. We have verification that is going to happen. Tom Bogert actually today talked about the fact that we're looking to reload this offseason, not like rebuild. So we are really trying to keep most of our squad together and the core of it. And we are able to keep Cesar Rojo, that's come out today, that we are able to hold on to him after he was getting, potentially poached by Nacional back to Uruguay. There's talks of
Did
Martin
he want to
Ojeda.
go back?
I've heard rumors on both sides. Like there was a lot of talk that he wanted to be back there for his family, but also it's because he's in his last year with the club and they were offering him a new contract, but he just wasn't really like impressed with what they were offering and wanted a lot more money. So they haven't signed a new contract, but we're keeping him right now, and they're going to hope to sign a new contract in 2025.
That sounds like a disgruntled player.
We will lose him. Yeah, we'll see. But hey, man, we got to keep our double pivot together. So I think we'd rather keep him for this year. And it kind of speaks to, I think, the fact that they're trying not to have a big rebuild this year, despite we're losing Facu. We are definitely trying to replace him with a full DP winger. We have Nicholas Rodriguez. He has come in from Colombia. He is not that full DP winger. He is just a U22 player for about 1.5 million, which is what he was worth out of a team in Colombia called Fortaleza. And he was like the best player on that team. He's, your typical kind of pacey right winger, could cut in, uses left and right foot, likes to dribble, likes to take guys on. So he's just going to be another piece for us. But we will be bringing in, hopefully, a full DP winger. Pasalic is the guy that we're looking at most recently. We have also been looking at Evander, supposedly, and might be in that race.
That's
to sign
right.
Evander.
I heard about possibly Evander going, which would be huge.
The issue with that is I think that we would then have to move Martin Ojeda on. Right now, it looks like we're going to keep Martin Ojeda in that number 10 position and just look to replace Facu at the right wing with another right winger. So it's going to be exciting. He is 24 years old, this guy out of Croatia, Pasalic, who we are looking at. We are, in early stages with talks with them, reported by Tom Bogert. So he could be a like-for-like replacement. Again, similar kind of makeup, like an inside forward kind of guy, likes to cut inside, good with his feet, can score. So really just trying to replace Facu with a similar player and roll again. We feel like most of our squad, like defense, etc. We have lost some players, but we're going to have to replace. But most of those are kind of lower on the totem pole, like
Depth.
squad guys, depth pieces. Yeah. Like I think we're going to probably use another U22 slot. We had a player retire, Jack Lynn, who was the MLS Next Pro MVP, just retired this week out of the blue. So we got some positions we need to fill, but overall, the big one looking like that right wing spot for a new DP.
Shout out to Calypso. If anybody, the new sweaters from this season, they don't have pockets, so don't buy them.
Zaha was wearing that sweater when he did his signing.
Everybody, this is like the new Adidas for the 2025. So all the teams have them in their colors. They don't have pockets. Don't buy them.
Tommy
Who the
was
hell?
complaining about that.
Who the
with
hell
Atlanta
does
United one.
a hoodie without pockets? It's
Doesn't make any
asinine.
Yeah.
And I keep going like this. It's ridiculous. John, how? And because I know we've heard it, but do you think it's credible that you guys might go after Evander? Like, I know the whole new MLS rule where you can now just use cash to buy a player now makes it possible. But do you think that there's a chance that it really happens? Because I think that that's a game changer for you guys if we can make it happen.
We would love to sign Evander. Like he would make so much sense for us.
MVP candidate last year.
Yeah, the market and like when they opened up that new rule, which is basically just player transfers, right? That you could pay actual cash.
Right.
There's a lot of talk around us going in for him, and there was talk of interest. I know that Dallas put in a 12 million bid. I don't think that was accepted. I think they want 15 million for Evander. I believe for us, it might be a wage issue and that we just have a lot of money tied up in Luis Muriel's contract and Martino Ojeda. So I don't know if they'd be able to afford Evander as well in the wage budget. Maybe it's just a case of like, we wouldn't want to go for him because they want to keep playing Martino Ojeda in the number 10. I think Oscar has found something there that he likes. And in which case we're just trying to replace the winger. Like I said, that's the reason I think it's more likely that we're going to go for one of these outside targets. And historically, as much as you guys are all sitting here talking about how much money you're spending, Orlando City, as much as I would love to think we're going to go out and spend 15, 20 million, the most we've ever spent was on Facu Torres, and that was 7.5. So I would love to see an Orlando City that goes out and starts to spend on the Atlanta level and the Miami level. Whether we're going to get that or not remains to be seen.
Or is as ambitious as Charlotte? Because Charlotte last year was linked to everybody in the summer transfer window. The reason I thought that the Saha thing was good for you guys, not because of the player, was because you guys will probably eventually become a joke because you're linked to everybody, but nobody comes. I thought it was nice that you guys finally got a big name because otherwise that was just going to start looking like a joke eventually. John, are you disappointed in Luis Muriel? Because I thought that he was going to do great for you guys last year, and it was a dud.
Yeah, he is a big problem in our wage budget, man. Like he's on a lot of money and his production is
I
bad.
thought he was gonna ball out.
And he just didn't look fit at the beginning of the year. He started to look fitter as the season went on and he started to play and he had some moments where he looked really bright, but we can't have a DP as a guy that we only bring on for 20 minutes and maybe he does something. It's just not good for us. I was really hoping that we would buy him out, but there's a lot of money on that contract, and I don't think they want to do it.
Danny, do you feel like you're going to kick Orlando's ass now this year since they've taken a step down? I know you want to.
I mean, Orlando, they kept Oscar, right? So they're always going to be dangerous. He has a way of maximizing. Even though I know Orlando fans have a love-hate relationship with Oscar, like sometimes I know y'all hate him.
They really do.
Other times you love him.
Poppy out.
We are like Civil War all the time.
Yeah, he gets a lot out of his players one way or the other. So I got to give him that. I don't think you can fairly say that we kept the core together when you lost Facu Torres, since he was the one-man core of the whole team. But Pasalic would be a good replacement potentially. Pasalic is a talented player who's like played in Germany, played for Dortmund, right? So he could be an awesome player to bring in for Orlando. I think he's a guy that could like stamp his imprint on the league a little bit, much like Zaha, much like Loth and whatnot. I want to think we're bad of Orlando, and yet they always outperform. So it's tough. I've talked a lot of trash in my day. It is one of my favorite road matches I've ever been to. Was I went to see Charlotte at Orlando in 2022. the first season that we were a club, and we were horrible that day.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I also enjoy going to Orlando games.
Yeah. So I don't have
we're
a
not
ton
so
of real
bad.
beef that I can bring. I'm much angrier when it comes to talking about against Atlanta United. But hey, I do want to beat Orlando. I've already gone through the chip on our shoulder that we have. I do the penalty was just absolute nonsense. The ref on the field, VAR was like screaming in his ear to like look at it, and he refused to even like look at the replay. So there's a procedural issue with the way it all went down for sure. But all told, if we met them in the playoffs again, I think we'd come out on top this time. So.
John, Duncan McGuire, what's going on with Duncan McGuire? I know it was a mess last year. Like, is everything settled? Is he good to go? He doesn't want a DP contract or anything like that?
He got a big pay bump, but he's on like $1.2 million or something like that. So he's getting paid now. But he is not a DP. There was a report came out that he is that has been dispelled by the club that he is not going to be our replacement DP for Facu Torres. But like he's out with shoulder injury.
1.2, you can still do TAM.
Yeah. He's going to come back. And I think, Enrique had some good moments as well for us last year. So the two of those, I think we'll fight it out. But, maybe we'll bring in another striker. We kind of need one. I wouldn't mind a veteran of MLS, but definitely not Kai Kamara for me. No, thank you.
Kai's got 1 year left. The best case scenario for Orlando is if Ojeda does what John's talking about and just sort of emerges into that playmaker, creator, like dominant role. He's not the same type of player as Facu Torres, but he could replace that production theoretically because he is a talented young player for sure.
If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, help us out with the whole channel. Henry, do you have anything about Orlando before we move on?
No, man. I mean, I still want to see some more moves from them, and I know them. I hate that Muriel didn't work out because he's Colombian, and I feel for my Colombian players. You know what I'm saying? But
same here.
I thought he was gonna ball out.
So did I.
But man, that's unfortunate. Whoever they get for the Facu replacement, if it's Pasalic, like that's gonna be a huge signing. Yeah, I mean, I just think that the Southeast in general is going to be stacked with talent, man. Just looking at who all these clubs are targeting, who they're bringing in, like this could be a very interesting. What's the thing? The Southern Championship belt, the
SEC, yes,
made up, yeah, that.
Southeastern,
I think that's going to be interesting.
The Southeastern Conference. Okay, so Henry, we talked about the teams that we watch and do podcasts for. But just Eastern Conference in general. Any moves that you're like, oh, that was a big move in the Eastern Conference?
In the East specifically, I mean, the biggest one that comes to mind right now, and I'm blanking on a few, but Red Bull's getting Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting as their new DP striker. I think he's a striker, yeah.
Yeah.
But getting him.
That was worse than Latelaf. I thought they overpaid for him too also, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I look, he brings experience. He's played at some pretty big teams. I know he came from Bayern and he has experience overseas.
PSG. Yeah,
PSG. So no, I think he brings a lot of experience to that Red Bulls team. And look, the run that Red Bulls made to MLS Cup, it shows that they're at a level where they can compete and they can ball in the not just in the East, but they can do so. Really, what they're missing to me is someone up top to really be, the guy that's putting away the goals, the guy that's converting those chances. And I think Choupo-Moting can bring that, and he can also help develop some of the younger strikers that they have coming up with their pipeline. But that to me is the biggest move of the East. I feel like there are some bigger ones that came over the Western Conference, but
I agree.
But yeah, that to me is the big one in the East.
John, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would go. Well, I think probably for me, it's either gonna be Latila or, Charlotte. I'm just completely blanking now.
Zaha.
Yeah, I think honestly those right now are two of the biggest. Choupo-Moting, he's like a journeyman. I think he's got some skills, but I don't think he's quite on the level of creation of those other guys. We'll see. I mean, I don't think the biggest guy in the East has arrived yet. You know what I mean? I think there's propensity for a big move from like New York City, for example. Haven't really seen anything from them. Maybe we will see something.
I think nobody likes
really
to go over
big.
there because they don't want to play in a baseball stadium. And I really do
I
think
mean-
that has to be some. Daivija, Pirlo, and Lampard went, and then after that, they just never got anybody that's a known
They
commodity.
did re-sign Maxi Morales for another time around.
Yeah,
He's not
but
done yet.
I mean,
He's
really,
older than
like
Dax.
you guys said, this the big clubs this like window. It's all about the Southeast. Like all the money is being spent down in Miami and Atlanta and Charlotte. So I think these teams right here probably got one of the biggest transfer windows coming in and one of the biggest transfers that's going to be made.
Danny, what do you think?
So let me go the route of what I think are some sneaky moves. I think Randall Leal going from Nashville to DC, I think is like a move that has a chance to pay off a lot for DC. Leal had some really good moments, like out of the midfield for Nashville, and he's been hurt he was like hurt all last year. So if he's healthy, then I think then that's really actually going to be really good for him. I think Nashville did do a good job sort of replacing him in the midfield, though, by bringing in Brugman from Galaxy. Brugman is a guy who like had a way of like really dominating midfields in games in a different way before Ricky Puig really got going. Once Puig started to take over and Galaxy remade themselves like an offense attack first club, they didn't need Brugman as much, and he also had some injury issues. But him going to Nashville, I think, is actually a pretty sneaky good move. Sneaky in terms of not sneaky at all. If you go to MLSsoccer.com, Major League Soccer.com, they have a page on there that has like the transfer watch, and like every team has like, about 8 lines of ins and outs and whatever. New England Revolution, you're looking at like 30 transactions here almost between their players in and out. There's such a massive turnover going on with
Because they all went to San Jose.
Yeah, half of them went to San Jose, and they brought in Luis Diaz, they brought in Jackson Ewell from San Jose, they brought in Campana, they brought in Maxi Urruti. Just like it's crazy what's going on in New England, and then a lot of big names of guys they dumped. So that was kind of interesting to me. I want to throw this out there though, and maybe this is just the Atlanta hater in me. Also, Red Bull's losing John Tolkien is a big deal. I should say that. I know he's been wanting to leave he's been wanting away for a while, but he's a big part of what they do. And I think
James Sands leaving NYCFC, I thought was big also.
Yeah, but Atlanta United, what they will rue the most when they look back on this 5 years, when they look back on this list of everyone that left the club from 24 to 25, they're going to say, "Man, we gave up on Tyler Wolff way too soon. We wish we still had the Wolf." He went from Atlanta United to Real Salt Lake, and I always thought he was a really good young prospect. So what do I know? But we'll see.
A lot of people in the chat were saying Kevin Denke.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, should not have overlooked that. He's going to be
in Cincinnati. Now, I thought Cincinnati was going to lose Lucho Acosta, but he's reporting to the training camp. So
he seems pretty disgruntled, though.
Yes, I agree. He said he wasn't coming back, but apparently he's on his way back. They're crediting the Denke signing to it. I'm not sure how real that is, but if Lucho stays, then maybe they still got something. I also think Campana to New England. We've always thought that Campana being the starter always, because he's never had that opportunity. When he got to Miami, he was behind Higuain. Then they brought in Joseph, and he was behind Joseph. And then obviously he's behind Luis Suarez. I think being the go-to starter, I think that's going to be great for him. And with Carlos Gil there and Langoni, I think that offense could all of a sudden take off. So I think that New England might be a problem next year, at least offensively. The defense still sucks, but offensively they might be a problem. So
do you think that should be interesting also? A good deal for you, Danny? Like for Miami's point of view?
We didn't. Yes, absolutely.
You get that, and like from New England's point of view, it was a really good deal too. It's a very interesting one that I would like to see more of that. And Orlando City, in my opinion, don't make enough transfers inside the league. So I would love to see us make some moves to go get like a Brugman or a Campana or someone like that from in the league.
And the thing is, a lot of people were like, but we needed Campana for after Luis Suarez left. Campana doesn't want to be here very long. He came out in an interview that he did in Ecuador that I watched, and he said, after the season, I'm going to Europe. Like he has no intention of playing in New England more than 1 year. He also told them that he chose to go there, which is BS. I don't know why they believed him, but he said he chose to go to New England because they always get their players transferred over to or sold to Europe, which isn't true. But he has no intention of being there past a year. So for the Inter Miami fans that were like, oh, but we wanted him to be our future, he had no intention of being here very long. So he wasn't going to get the playing time he needs, and I'm glad that he's going to get an opportunity. I feel the same way about Robert Taylor. I think Robert Taylor would be a baller on another team as a starter, and he's not going to get the opportunity here either. So yeah,
I'd rather keep those guys in the league than let them leave, and I think that's a lot of what the league is trying to do with these new rules and everything. Is say like Evander, we want Evander wherever he goes to stay in MLS, not leave to go to, especially not to go like Mexico or something.
And there's a lot of potential homes for a player like Evander or a player like Lucho Acosta around the league.
And just because you don't like your current club doesn't mean there's not one in MLS that'll work for you.
Right. Yep. Like no shade to Belgium or anything like that. But like, would you really want to go play over there and live in that weather? Or do you want to come live in one of these southeastern cities where the weather's nice and, so I would love that. All right. So Eastern hierarchy. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I still think Miami is the top team, but because of all the other tournaments and whatnot, they won't end up with, let's say, the top seed. But if you were to say top 4 teams in the East, who are you putting in the top 4? Because before last year it was Miami, Columbus, Cincinnati, and number 4 was it Orlando? No, it was they made it to 4th. Okay,
it was Orlando. Charlotte 5. Yeah,
that's right. There we go. 4 and 5. That was a 4-5 matchup. So, if you had to put money on it, who is going to be top 4 this coming season? Do you think Cincinnati stays? I think Columbus stays. I think Orlando drops a bit. So I'll tell you my first.
Charlotte replaces Cincinnati.
Okay, agreed. I think it's Miami, Columbus, Charlotte.
Wow.
Who could be that 4th?
It's hard.
I would put Atlanta in the top 4, man.
A lot of people are saying that
they should be in the top 4. Like,
you think
I
so?
think Igita, man, stand up for yourself here, bro. Like,
Look, dude, I would love that. And I was saying, look, if all these moves get done, like for me, the expectation is Atlanta finishes 3rd in the East. I would even say 3rd. I would even say 3rd. Yeah, because of the resources that are being used here and just the quality of players that they would have with this completed roster. Like, I think it would be enough to compete. Now, the thing is, the East is freaking stacked, man. It's hard for me to really pick, but yeah, I think I would have to go like I'd say Miami, Columbus, Atlanta, and Charlotte, man. I think that would have to be my top 4.
Feels good.
Does anybody have the Red Bulls? They're Eastern Conference champs technically. Does anybody think that they have any chance of being top 4? I don't.
I mean, would they come like 7th? So they were hot.
They
like
were
they
riding high for a while.
Yeah, like they had a really bad time as well.
The way that Miami is built for the regular season, the Red Bulls are built for the playoffs. It's just kind of like the kind of team they are. So they went on a nice run, but I still don't know if they're a top 4 type finish.
One of those
7 or 6, maybe.
One of the top 4 teams will drop off though. Yeah. For sure. Like, look what happened to Philly last year. One of these teams, like Cincy or Columbus or like maybe Orlando, like maybe one of them will just not.
I think Orlando will take a dip, and I thought Cincinnati would take a bigger dip when I thought Lucho wasn't going to be around. But now that Lucho's here, I think that they won't drop too far. John, who do you have in top 4?
I would probably go Miami, and then I think. It's hard to say. I think Columbus are like more consistent than Cincy. Cincy are very good, but I think they might even struggle even with Denke. Like they're not that consistent. So I would say Miami, Columbus, and then I think Atlanta, and then either Cincy or Charlotte or Orlando. One of those. Like I think there's three big teams, maybe 4 or 5 big teams right now in the East, and that would be those.
Okay. Danny, I know you got Charlotte number 1.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to probably. I can't kick Miami all the way out, even though I want to.
Okay.
Columbus, I feel like might have peaked. They're still really good, but they might have peaked. We'll see. I could be wrong about that, but things are not quite as settled with Cucho as they were this time last year. And he obviously had the huge season, but now it's almost like, is he truly happy there? Does he want to move on? I'm not sure. So they also got rid of Aiden Morris halfway through last year, and it kind of did come back to bite him eventually in the end, even though they still won games without him. So I feel like, Columbus is really good, but they might not be as good. You know, if we're talking about risers, I would like to think that my top four would probably be in no particular order: Charlotte, Miami, Columbus, and I kind of think Atlanta. Okay. I mean, you know, if I'm looking at my two esteemed fellow panelists here, at least Atlanta's gone out and like got some guys. You know, Orlando's got nobody. Orlando hasn't done anything. We keep, you know, John's talking about, we might get this dude from Dortmund or whatever, but like, I mean, we're running short on time. You know, the teams are at training camps.
Got a week.
So I'm gonna lean towards Atlanta. I'll take Charlotte to take Cincinnati spot in the top four, and Atlanta to take Orlando spot in the top four, and go from there. And then we'll all lose to Red Bulls in the playoffs anyway.
It might be my bias, but I don't believe in Atlanta yet. I got to see it to believe it.
It's fine, man.
No, well, look, I didn't see you guys beat against Miami in the playoffs, so there you go. All right,
you never know with Atlanta.
For sure. Last quick question: 2025 kits. I saw Atlanta's, and I thought it looked exactly like the same as last year's.
Does anybody?
Yeah. Does anybody have any hope for the kits this year? I don't know if you guys have seen the leaks for your teams yet. Miami's going Argentina. They're going pinstripes. But I'm okay with that because it's different. I'm okay with different. Atlanta is literally selling the same jerseys to people all over again.
The Charlotte one looks sick.
Oh, I haven't seen the Charlotte one.
It's like black and it has like the CLT logo.
Yeah, it has the alternate logo. It has this.
That one, it looks so good, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
So instead of
John, have you guys gotten the leak for yours yet?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, it's gonna be a bit different for us. Like usually, this is gonna be a patterned purple jersey. Like you're gonna be able to see some kind of like called the hurricane kit, and you're gonna see some kind of like waves of movement on the pattern of the jersey. So a little different for us. We've never had one in purple like that.
Now they always try to give it like some type of theme. Well, what exactly is the wave theme gonna be? Do you have any idea?
It's the hurricane, so it's just like, you know, everything around. It's not like take a supplemental pattern, put it on, which is, like I said, we've never done before. So I think it's one of those that I'm hoping is better in person because I wasn't super excited about the, the original like design when I saw it on the screen.
I'm kind of curious if Inter Miami, when they're doing their explanation, if they literally just go, yeah, it's an ode to Messi. Like, okay. Hey,
might as well.
You got to sell those jerseys, man. You got to sell those jerseys. I feel you.
And
that's how we make money over here.
The Charlotte Black is going to sell. Yeah.
This is the Charlotte right here. Yeah, it's nice.
Here, let me.
What's that print right there? Any idea what that is?
It's like a crown. So hang on, I'll show you. I just also check the chat, Danny. I just sent you something that'll show a better view of the jersey. A link.
There you go.
It's gonna go pull it out of the closet.
But no, I don't have the thing. But so the pattern is this. This is like a little replica of the crown they give for man of the match. So you can see, like, yeah. So that's the pattern that's like woven into the shirts now.
It's very nice.
It's like the tines, the points of the crown.
Probably my favorite leak so far.
Added together. It's pretty nice. It looks like it's going to be pretty sick. And then the collar has like these two blue stripes that are sort of offset. So it's mildly asymmetrical. It's pretty cool. I mean, I'll definitely be getting it for sure. I'll have to get my boy Westwood to sign that one now since I got my the captain signature here.
Once you get your
This has
kid
been
signed,
my lucky jersey.
wear
all
it.
year.
I've never had a player sign a jersey, but if I did, I don't think would you wear it after?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I guess I could get it framed, but I mean, of course, why would I not wear it? I'm not. You don't like you keep your toys in the box, man. Like you gotta like.
Well, I usually don't let them ruin my kit. I don't want them to write on it.
I don't think it's ruined. I think it makes it cooler.
Potatoes.
We can poll the chat on that. They're gonna laugh at me for my light going off since people have been chatting that my.
In the chat they've been killing you for the lack of light. So
they've been killing me. I don't really care. I mean, the problem is if you want the explanation, I can turn this light on, but then then you get this like bright ass light. I don't have a cool background. I need to change up my background. I like these guys have much better backgrounds than me.
Well, John right there's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, man.
I love what John's rocking with.
You gotta have your work from home station, with all your branding. Oh. That's it. You gotta have it.
I have met Chico El Muerte to answer Circus Fun's question, by the way.
Oh, there you go. All right. Thank you. I guess I appreciate you guys coming on to hang out with me. Hopefully I can get you guys on soon so we could just do a deep dive into your teams for a quick little preview of the season. But thank you guys for joining me. Let everybody know where they can follow you. So with Henry, let everybody know where they could find you, follow you, and all that good stuff.
Heck yeah. You can find me on Twitter at HA Higuita. I write Spanish articles for MLS, and then I also do Atlanta United coverage for Scarves and Spikes.
Wait, hold on. Justin just said FC Cincinnati encouraged fans to paint their $200 jerseys last year, so a signature isn't that big. Why would they encourage you to paint your jersey?
To paint it?
I guess so that they could come out with the same exact jersey like Atlanta did and be like, well, this one's brand new.
I mean, to be fair with Atlanta, I'll say this. With Atlanta, I like that their home kits have the 5 stripes because that's the traditional, like that's the nickname. That's the trademark. And so I don't mind that from my perspective. Could they be a little bit more creative with it? Yeah, sure. I know that this, like the leaked one is like, oh, it's basically last season's, but instead of gold stripes, you have red stripes or whatever. I get the complaint, but to me, it looks nice for this team's home jersey.
I think they painted themselves into a corner with the whole 5 stripes thing, but I get it.
To be fair, that wasn't a nickname that they came up with. That was a nickname that someone that covers the team came up with, and it just stuck. That just
really?
Stuck. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Rob Usry, you know him? He founded Dirty South Soccer, which is basically kind of like the predecessor to Scarves and Spikes. I was like one of the major like Atlanta United blogs of the day, and he coined the phrase 5 stripes, and it just kept on going. People liked it.
That is interesting.
For the crown, 5 stripes.
Okay. And Danny, let everybody know where they can find you.
For the crown, baby, is our tagline. We end every episode by saying that of our show. Check us out mostly Charlotte Soccer Show on YouTube, on every platform where you can post stuff, where you can post links and make jokes. We're there too. But yeah, it's always for the crown, baby. That's what we do.
You got a question here. Charlotte, Danny, would you consider moving to South Carolina so you could illegally own a kangaroo?
No, I would never consider
moving
to
legally.
That's such a random question, but I love it.
Yeah.
I would. I try not to even think that South Carolina exists.
There you go. John, let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me on my show that I run with my good friend Luis called Loud and Proud Orlando. We do that every Monday night, and we cover Orlando City. I also cover Orlando Pride, so if you're into NWSL, come check us out there. You can find me personally on X at John Rollins OCSC. So come follow me, check us out.
And the kangaroo question, we're doing a show right before this one for the Inter Miami, and my co-host randomly found out that there's 3 states where you can legally own a kangaroo. So South Carolina being one of them, Wisconsin being another, and from what I'm seeing here, West Virginia. So those are the 3. So if you guys want to legally own a kangaroo, you can move to one of those 3 states.
Wouldn't they be pretty cold in Wisconsin? I don't think kangaroos could survive.
Yeah,
I mean,
don't be cruel to your
that's probably why it's legal there, because they know you can't do it.
Obviously, Florida is the best place for your kangaroo.
Absolutely.
But it's not legal in
Come on.
Florida, man.
Apparently, we can't have him. Damn,
I'm shocked
I
it's
wanted
illegal
that
in Texas.
kangaroo.
What would you do with a kangaroo anyway? Spar it?
You'd fight it, yeah.
Sure, man.
Yeah. Hey, I've seen those videos. Those things are whoa, and they really
This is
like
how
step
it
up like
starts,
this.
man. This is how it
Yeah.
starts.
Yeah. All right. Before I get out of here, I'm kind of curious. I haven't asked any of you guys. Just Battered Fans Network, Battered MLS fans. It doesn't have to be MLS though. What's your biggest battered sports memory? I'll start with Danny because I have a feeling he has a few.
Yeah, because I'm old for sure. Probably.
That's not what I meant, for sure.
I grew up in Utah actually before I moved around to Texas and
Okay.
then now North Carolina.
You're gonna say,
And I
Game
really
Stick?
like. I don't. The only team, the local team that I really liked back in the day was the Utah Utes, men's basketball
Nice.
team, and like when they had like these guys Keith Van Horn and Andre Miller, and like they were always like these underdogs. They were fighting, and they played Kentucky for the championship and were winning at halftime, but then like got blitzed in the second half and lost. That's a bad one. And then even more relevantly and even more recently, I went to TCU for college. Love TCU football,
Oh,
college
that
football.
was bad. Yeah.
And yeah, I went to the championship game against Georgia 2 years ago in LA, and it was raining in Southern California, and it was a dome. Like it's a dome stadium, but it's like this special dome that like doesn't have the walls. Two of the ends are open, and so the rain and wind is like making the rain come in sideways, and so it's like raining, and it's up so people in the upper deck who are all the TCU fans, because they're like the Georgia fans bought all the good tickets because they knew they were going to win. The TCU fans are up in the cheap seats getting rained on indoors in Los Angeles, losing by 50 points.
SoFi.
And it was just at SoFi. Yeah, it was just absolute horrible. And I left. I stomped out like in the third quarter, and I walked off into like the torrential downpour. Like my feet got soaked because you couldn't avoid the puddles. My team just got their asses kicked. And I was with like a bunch of group of friends from college, and they had all spent a bunch of money to go to this game, and it was brutal. And we couldn't get an Uber. There's impossible to get an Uber. We had to walk for like 2 miles away from the stadium before we could get a ride.
That's the deepest your voice has gotten all up. Like you can feel the batter coming up.
Yeah, man, that was battered, man. Yeah. And then we went and drank whiskey all night at my brother's place in Santa Monica. Yeah.
You feel better in Santa Monica. John, any battered moments?
Yeah, man. I mean, all my teams are battered. Like, I don't think I've ever supported like the Orlando City USL days were the most winning days of my life, and that was.
What about MLS is back?
We did win that. No, we lost in the final. No.
It was fun though.
No, I mean, for me, like Stoke has been a whole lifetime of battering for real. Like we're a very mid-championship club. That's pretty horrific every year. But the number one has to be being an England fan my entire life, and pick a tournament. Like we just love to lose a final against Spain or Italy or Germany. So yeah, that's
it's never coming home.
That's the most brutal. Yeah, like I really so many times I got so excited about the fact that we might finally win a tournament of the sport that we invented, by the way. And yeah, it's just I don't know if it'll ever happen in my lifetime. So ultimate battering is being an England fan, I'll tell you.
And Henry.
Yeah, I mean,
Falcons fan, because this was gonna be easy. Okay.
You already said it, man. I mean, look, I'm a Georgia boy, born and raised to Colombian parents, but still born and lived in Georgia my entire life, and so Atlanta sports has been my thing. And yeah, the 2016 Super Bowl is when we were super freaking hyped, man, because it's like,
I mean, 28-3, yeah.
And it's crazy that they made it, and we were like, you know what, there's a chance. And then when they had us in the first half, and I don't want to relive that, man. Don't make me continue with this. It was just like I stayed up all night. I stayed up all night to watch because I'm like, yes, it's gonna happen. And then it just like slowly just.
Has it really been 9 years already?
9 years, man.
Damn, Matty Ice. I didn't realize it was that long ago.
Yep, he's in the Ring of Honor now.
Yeah, I always enjoy listening to other people's battered moments because my teams all suck. So it's always fun to hear about that stuff. All right. I appreciate you guys hanging out for the last hour, 15 minutes. As always, appreciate you taking the time. And for those of you in the chat, we appreciate you hanging out with us also for the last hour and 15 minutes. If you're listening on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end. Please leave us 5 stars, comment, review. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. Try to get to 1,000 subscribers before the season starts. And as always, you guys are awesome. And we'll be back next week to talk a little more MLS, Western Conference this time. So until the next one, have a good one.